Vamos a preparar una paella grande hoy. Hey, I'm Big Lou, and this is Big Lou Barbecue and other things I want to do. And what I want to do today is make a big paella. That's what I said at the beginning. We're going to prepare a big paella. Let me tell you, usually, yeah, I made paella before. Usually I make paella in this large 15-inch skillet, 15-inch paella, yeah. Today, we're making it in this 22-inch skillet. Look, this is how I normally make paella. That's how we make a paella today, in this big paella. All right, it's not gonna be, authentic, but we're all gonna have saffron in it, and we're all gonna have some chicken and some Spanish chorizo, and we're gonna do a paella mixta. I'll tell you more about that in just a few minutes. This is a collaboration effort with Scott at Fam Eats, and I'm gonna tell you about my wardrobe here in just a few minutes as well. Check out Scott at Fam Eats. He's already put up his paella video. I'm a little late on it, and I may tell you why in just a few minutes, but anyway, go check out Scott at Fam Eats and see his paella video. Then you can come back and see mine. Oh, you decided to stick around. Good. I'm gonna show you how I started prepping last night. You see, I was supposed to do this on Memorial Day with him, but a tornado came through a week before, and I was gonna video it that week, and I just totally forgot with the damage and all. And then so I've been needing to do it this week. And it's been storming and raining, and it's storming outside now, so I'm gonna do a lot of the segments here in my kitchen, but we are gonna cook it under my patio because it's raining, and we're gonna cook it on my Members Mark grill. Well, I had a good excuse to make barbecue chicken the night before because the tornado-caused power outage ruined all the chicken stock I had saved in my freezer. So I cut up 2 chickens, and I took the neck, the backbone, the breastbone, all that stuff, and I boiled up some chicken stock with some celery, onion, garlic, all kind of good stuff in there. I have a video on how to make chicken stock, but I needed it for the paella, and it yielded about 3 quarts. There's a pint and a half jar right there and a pint jar there. The other 2 are quart jars. And there's my barbecue chicken. All right, I mentioned at the beginning that we're making a paella mixta today, which is Spanish simply for a mixed paella. There is a kind of a culture about paella, about what is the authentic paella, or that's not a real paella. There's sort of a snobbery about it. And I come from Louisiana, where we got a jambalaya culture, and jambalaya is probably a descendant of paella, but the jambalaya culture is more like, oh, that's a cool variety, or that's a great variety, or I like the way you did that, where paella is more like, me, I don't care. I'm gonna make my paella my way. I'm not selling it to anybody, and I'm serving it to my family, and if we like it, we like it. So that's the way I think of it. All right, what's paella mixta? Paella mixta means you've got meat and seafood in it. You can have a paella de carne or paella carne, and it's just meat. The original paella had rabbit in it. We're doing chicken and some sausage, and you can have paella de mariscos, which is just shellfish or seafood paella. Mariscos, like M-A-R, like marine, all right? There's a little bit of paella news for you. Well, I got up early the next morning to make the marinade for the chicken based on Reichland's only marinade you'll ever need. It calls for 1 part lemon juice, 2 parts olive oil, a bunch of garlic, and some fresh herbs. Right there, I've got some rosemary and some mint, but I'm also going to use dry herbs because I don't have Reichland's budget. And that's some Rabelais herbs right there. It's got dill, basil, rosemary, thyme, stuff like that in it. I'm gonna use that. I've got some dried parsley flakes. There's red pepper flakes that's going in my marinade. And I don't always follow his recipe exactly, but it's basically like that. So I zest the lemons too. The zest has got to go in there. And I zest each one of the lemons. Now you're gonna still see a lemon there. I had 4 lemons on hand, but I used the juice of 3. All right, once the lemon's zested, I just squeeze it in there. You can see the zest that was in the bottom of the jar. And I do this with 3 lemons, and it yields that much lemon juice. And then I'm gonna add twice as much olive oil, all right? So we're gonna fill it up to about right where I point there with the olive oil, and just fill it up. Once I got the olive oil, you can see the lemon juice is on the bottom, the olive oil floats. I chop up the garlic, I chop up the fresh herbs, I dump that all into there, into the jar, and then I start adding in my dry herbs. Here comes some of the Provence herbs. Nope, actually that's the salt. I gotta put in a tablespoon of salt. And of course, Reichland's recipe calls for a tablespoon of fresh cracked black pepper, but I'm not cracking a tablespoon of black pepper to put into a marinade. That's for topping food with. I just use ground pepper, all right? And then we start putting in the dry herbs. There's some of the red pepper flakes again. And then of course, here's the Provence herbs. And there's all kind of good stuff in that. That is really good stuff. It's a French herb blend.
but it goes well with this marinade. There's some parsley, and I'm also going to put some marjoram in there too. Yep, I got marjoram by the pound, all right? Marjoram is like sort of a Turkish version of oregano, all right? But you could use oregano in it if you wanted to. And if you had fresh on hand, that'd be even better. But I just shake, rattle, and roll, and the marinade's ready to go for the chicken. I'm going to use white meat chicken in this. I had some chicken breast. I used almost all of that. I saved one breast to cook for the person in the house that's watching carbs and not going to eat much paella. So that one I didn't cut up. The rest of them I just cut up, stuck into a Ziploc bag, poured the marinade on the inside there, and put it in the ice box. And the chicken marinated probably almost 12 hours because I didn't cook this till night, and I made this marinade up before dawn. All right, about an hour before the cook, I used some of the marinade for the shrimp. I took the shrimp shells and I made stock with it, just the same way I made the chicken stock.
Well, you may be wondering what I'm wearing. Well, I got the M. You see Scott, he's a big Mississippi State fan. You may be wondering why a boy born in Baton Rouge, grew up as an LSU fan, went to Southern Miss, is wearing Mississippi State garb. Scott's a big Mississippi State fan, and this is my sackcloth and ashes, the proverbial sackcloth and ashes, my penance for having to do this late. Go Dogs. Scott's such a State fan that they named the field after him. Yeah, it's called Scott Field at Wade Davis Stadium or Davis Wade Stadium or whatever it is up there in Starkville. They named the field after him.
Let's talk about the ingredients. I'm using 6 cups of arborio rice instead of the traditional Spanish bomba rice. You want a short grain rice for this. And there's some Spanish chorizo, which is different than Mexican chorizo. Pronounced different, spelled the same, but completely different sausages. I'll tell you more about that later. I've got some andouille there. I've got a can of sweet peas I'm going to use, and fresh snap beans, fresh green beans, 5 bell peppers, 2.5 onions. Let's talk about the saffron. I pick up a half gram of saffron almost every time I go into a World Market store, and it sells for about $4.99 or so there. It's the world's most expensive spice. Subscribers sent me some from nuts.com. That's what I'll be using, and I'll be using that 1/4 gram left over from the last time I made a paella. 2 Roma tomatoes as well. All right, it's time to chop up stuff for the sofrito. By the way, that was some garlic right there. I'm also going to use garlic. Now, what I'm going to do is cut 4 of the bell peppers in half. And half of each of those bell peppers, the red, orange, yellow, and 1 of the greens, I'm going to cut into strips. These bell pepper strips are going to be used at the end for sort of the presentation mode on my paella. The others are going to get diced up. So half of 4 of them and 1 entire green one gets diced up for the sofrito. Last year I did a paella collaboration with several other channels, and in it I learned that if you grate the onions, you get a better sofrito out of it. So I grated up 2.5 onions for this big paella. And the grated onions look like that, and the little parts of the onion that you can't grate because you'll cut your fingers, I just diced up. So I put that all in the same bowl with the diced up bell peppers because it's going to get dumped in. Now for the Roma tomatoes, I peel tomatoes by dumping them into hot water, boiling water for just a few seconds, and the peeling will just come off. And then to core it and seed it, I just cut the core out and scrape off the seeds, and I'm left with this little bit right there, and that's what I dice up for the tomatoes to go into the sofrito. Put that into the same bowl. Keep the garlic separate. That's 2 small heads of garlic that I chopped up. If you want to use, 1 large head, I don't know. This is a big paella, so I used a lot of garlic. All right, here's the 2 sausages I'm using. That's andouille right there, which is very common in Louisiana. And this is Spanish chorizo, not Mexican chorizo, spelled the same, but totally different sausages. The Spanish chorizo is dried sausage, more like a summer sausage. It has this skin or paper stuff on it. I don't know if that's natural hog casing or not. You can peel it off or you can keep it on, but you can see it's much tighter packed than Mexican chorizo. All right, and that's what the andouille looks like. I'm gonna chop up the sausage and get it ready to go. Now, the shrimp stock yielded 3.5 cups, which means I'm going to need 8.5 cups of chicken stock because I'm going to use 6 cups of rice, so I need 12 cups of stock. And so I'm going to dump in the chicken stock that had been in the refrigerator. It's cold, so the fat kind of congeals on the top, but I don't want to put cold stock into my paella, so I want to heat it up. And I'm also going to put in 1/2 gram of the saffron and let it start seeping into the stock like a tea. All right, I'm going to stir it around in there. I'm not going to bring it to a boil. I'm just going to bring it to a simmer and get that stock warm. All right, it's time to cook now. So I dump out the marinated chicken. It's been marinating all day, and I'm gonna put this Berber seasoning on there. An Ethiopian seasoning, but it's got a lot of good Spanish flavors in there. Starts with paprika, but there's cumin, curry, cayenne, all kind of good stuff in there, and I'm gonna season the chicken with that. The shrimp's gonna get seasoned with lemon garlic pepper. Well, it's finally time for the grill thrill, and a lot of this portion of the video will be in real time so you can hear the stuff cook. I'm using my Members Mark grill because it doesn't have handles on the grate. The handles on the Weber grate interfere with that big paellera. It also has this cast iron grate. I'm hoping it'll provide even heating. Got a nice bed of coals down there. I'm gonna set the paellera on it with the chicken and start heating the chicken up.
All right, I moved the camera angle. Maybe you can see a little better. It's gotten dark. I had to wait till the thunderstorm passed, but you can see we're just browning this chicken up. If it doesn't cook all the way through, that's okay, because we're going to cook it in when we boil the rice as well. But just trying to get it all browned up real nicely. All right, this chicken is about done, but that Berber seasoning has burned on the bottom here, that stuff there. I want that stuff out of there, so I'm gonna have to get this chicken out. I was planning to do that anyway, but before I put the sausage in, I gotta scrape it. So I'll do that off camera. You know, this is real. I'm an amateur cook, untrained amateur. Don't try this at home. Actually, try the paella. Just don't try burning this stuff on the bottom.
Once I got the chicken out, I deglazed it by using some cold water. It warped the pan a little bit, but I was able to straighten it out using some grill gloves, but it did deglaze it really well.
Hey, got the pan deglazed, wiped it out with a paper towel real quick, real hot. And I'm gonna put some oil in here. We're gonna cook up the sausage. Of course, that's EVO, the olive oil. And we're just gonna brown up the sausage real quick. I make paella different almost every time I cook it. I'm constantly practicing, constantly trying to get better. I've never made the perfect paella. The way I look at it, it's kind of like golf. You can keep practicing, you can keep getting better, but you are never going to make 18 holes in one and shoot a perfect game of golf. I'm probably never going to make a perfect paella, but I have fun doing it every time I do. This is the biggest one I've ever made. Hey, sausage is browned up nicely. Gonna get it out of here. I'm gonna real quick flash cook the shrimp, and then we're gonna do the sofrito. The sausage is out, still got a little oil in there. I'm gonna put the shrimp in there, put a lemon garlic pepper rub on there. And they've got that garlic from the marinade, and I think garlic, what's called, did you hear that? That's what it did when it warped. Maybe it warped back, maybe it warped again, I don't know. Well, I put those cold shrimp in there, and that pan warped. Wow. It kind of went back earlier, but now, I don't know, it's almost like a taco. These shrimp did not stay in here long. They're coming out. And we're gonna cook the sofrito. It warped when I put the deglazed it. That was off camera. And then it did that when I put those cold shrimp in there. But it did straighten back out a little bit. But I'm gonna put some olive oil in here, get that heating up, and we're gonna dump in the sofrito. All right, here is the bell pepper, the onion, and the tomatoes. This is one of the two important parts of a paella. Sofrito is a Spanish word for a saute. It's used like a noun, all right? It is a noun, sofrito, the sofrito, el sofrito. I'm sorry I stepped in the light. We want to get this fried into almost a paste, but we're going to keep sauteing and sauteing this. All right, this sofrito could go a little longer, but the onions are caramelized because they were grated. The chopped peppers, they're soft, and it could go a little longer, but we're hungry, it's late. We waited till after the storm to cook, it's night. And so I'm gonna go ahead and go to the next step, which is I'm gonna add in these fresh snap beans, these fresh green beans. If these were from a can or if they were frozen or something like that or partially cooked already, I wouldn't do this now, but I wanna make sure they're cooked through and they may take, you know, longer than the rice. So I'm gonna throw those in and just stir them in with this sofrito and get them frying up a little bit before we add in the other ingredients.
All right, I continued to cook the sofrito down till it was that paste that I was talking about, and the green beans continued to cook with it. Now it's time to add in the garlic. That's 2 small heads of garlic chopped up, if I hadn't told you that already. If it was 1 large head of garlic, that'd have probably been enough for this big paella. Now I'm gonna put the rice in. When I watch the paella videos from Spain, I watch them in Spanish, and they often put the rice in the shape of a cross. I have no problem with crosses, so I do it too. Don't really know why, just that's what they do for the paella videos in Spain. What I'm doing now is coating all this dried rice with the sofrito mix, get it all flavored in there, heating it up before we put the liquid in, and I think that keeps it from getting gummy. I'm gonna add in the other seasoning, and there is a 1/4 gram of saffron left over from the last time I made a paella a few months back in that small pan. And now I'm adding in some adobo seasoning. I made this myself, so it's minus the MSG. And here is some newspaper seasoning. It's simply salt, black pepper, and red pepper or cayenne. Get it black and white, red all over. I'm gonna stir all those seasonings into this as we continue to kind of saute this dried rice at the time. And now I'm gonna add back in the meat. That's the brown chicken, the brown sausage, and that seared shrimp. That shrimp seared just for a few minutes. We don't want to overcook that. We're gonna stir this all into the mixture. Where it lands is pretty much where it's going to be in the paella, because it's time now to add in all those homemade stocks, that shrimp stock and that chicken stock that I mixed together and seeped in the saffron to it. So I'll pour this into the pan. I did take time to try to straighten the pan out after it warped again with the shrimp by grabbing the handles with grill gloves and trying to straighten it out, but I didn't get it perfectly straight. And you can see that more of the liquid is on the left side of your screen than it is on the right. So I try to pat all the rice down into the liquid so that it all cooks. So I want to make sure all the rice is wet. So that's what I'm doing with that wooden spoon right now, is just not stirring it, but I'm trying to make sure that there's no rice on top that doesn't get moisture to it so that it'll all cook. And now I add the strips of bell pepper that I cut. If I taken time to make the color pattern even, I would have. I just kind of laid them out there as I grabbed them out of the bowl. And they look like that, make it pretty. Now I'm adding canned peas. I found that using pre-cooked peas helps keep a moisture barrier because I don't have a cover on this for the rice to cook. And you know it's done when you stop seeing steam come off of it or the steam slows down. And at that time, about 20 minutes later, it was time to take this paella in for the taste test time.
All right, so here it is, all done. Biggest paella I've ever made. This is not some romantic couple's let's cook in date night where they each eat out of the same pan. No, this is a family size thing. This is for the fam to eat. Yeah, check out Fam Eats Paella video. All right, let's check the socarat. I hear it. Look at that. That's the best socarat I've ever made on camera. Look at that right there. Woo! All right, it's not here around the edges too much. A little bit right there. You hear that? You want that dark caramel color, but you don't want it black. That is prize right there. You want to try it real quick with your fingers, Hannah? It's hot, it's hot, it's hot, it's hot.
It's good though.
How's that?
That's awesome.
My wife wants to try that shrimp right there. Maybe another one.
That's fantastic.
Is it fantastic? Let's eat. You know my daughter Hannah? Say hi, Hannah.
Hi, Anna.
My son Eli's devouring a plate of it just off camera. How is it, Eli?
It's delicious.
It's delicious. Go, try it. All right, first I'm gonna try some of this with some chicken meat on it. Oh, that's some chorizo meat, that'll work. Me encanta la paella! I love paella, that's what that means.
This is awesome.
Say it like that. Say fantastica.
Fantastica.
Paella fantastica.
Paella fantastica.
Paella grande. All right, let's try that socarat. That's that caramelized rice on the bottom. Prized, all right? Oh yeah. Best socarat I've done on camera. Biggest paella I've ever made. Hey, thanks for watching Big Lou Barbecue. Have fun making paella. Do it the way you want to do it. Don't worry about, oh, it's not authentic. Shut up. Just have fun with it. It's delicious.
I mean, you've done crawfish before. But
Yeah, I put crawfish in it last
than
year.
that. This
is better than last year's?
Yeah, and I love crawfish, but this is pretty good.
Let's try shrimp. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We gotta eat. Bye y'all.